Hi everybody, it's John back with another model inbox review. Funny, the last inbox review I did was on a Spitfire, and this is another Spitfire. The mark of Spitfire we're looking at here is a Spitfire Mark IX, so obviously we're building a Mark IX, but which one am I going to be inbox reviewing? Well, today it's the turn of the Matchbox PK2 Purple Range Spitfire Mark IX in 1/72 scale. I will be doing quite a few Matchbox reviews over the next couple of weeks, so all you Matchbox lovers out there, I know there's a friend of mine in Birmingham who loves these kits, and I share quite a lot of passion for them as well. Basic they might be, but they are very fun and they bring the nostalgia flowing back if you were building these as children. So we'll start off with the inbox review straight away. This kit was originally released in 1972 when all of the Purple range were initially released. The first 19 kits, of course, PK1s to 19, were released in 1972, and there were a further few which were released in 73. And then some of them were released in 74 and 75 to complete the Purple range, which actually numbers some 52 kits. The issue and interesting thing about this particular kit is that PK2 was the second kit in the range, obviously being PK2, and the Spitfire Mark IX was also subject to a revamp which changed the model's PK number to PK50, and we'll get to that in a minute when we get the boxing up. That's the first box review, first box issue that was issued in 1972. The first release kits that were released in 72 tended to have flip top lids and Type 1 boxes, and that's how you can usually tell a first issue kit in the first year, because the whole lid of the kit comes off to reveal the kit inside the box underneath. So that's the first boxing revealed in 1972. Then we went to 1975 when the second type boxing was released, and this was the open-ended box. It opened up at one end, it didn't have a flip top lid, but there are a couple of changes here as well that are worthy of note. First of all, you had the two colour kit symbol in the bottom left hand corner there, and you also had the word marquee written in the bottom right hand corner there, and that's how you can tell the difference straight away between a Type 1 and a Type 2 box. And also, of course, it opens up at one end like we said before. 1975, same artwork, same kit inside, no issues, no changes, nothing. So 75 went through to 1979, and AMT got their hands on a lot of Matchbox kits that were released in the Purple range, and the Spitfire Mark IX was no exception. AMT being an American agent to sell models through, and Matchbox sold quite a lot of kits through AMT on the American market, and the entirety of the Purple range I think were included. Big massive white border around, it's like a picture frame box around the outside of the box here, and moulded in two colours there instead of two colour kit. And also here it's 1/72 scale plastic kit, aged 10 and up, so the Matchbox are really aiming their kits between the 10 and I would say 16, 17 year olds. That's their main market at the time. So that's 1972. 1982 went to a Type 3 box for Matchbox, and the kits were still released in two different colours, but I think by now these models were released in grey and green sprue instead of the brown and green sprue. Still just a Spitfire Mark IX in the box, but the thing about this style of boxing is that 1982 was a year where Matchbox changed ownership to a fellow who I think came from either Japan or China, I can't remember. But the details of that is in one of my videos called Matchbox Kits, the Best Starter Kits, which you can peruse, and it was uploaded probably the best part of nearly 14 months ago, quite a while ago now. But this is still PK2, it's still a Mark IX Spitfire inside the box. Nothing's changed, it's just the box art. The box art is the same, box art has changed rather, and this yellow flash under a black border has changed, and the Matchbox logo has been brought down to the bottom left hand corner instead of being in the top left hand corner. 1982 went through to 1989, and then you have a change. not only just in the kit itself, but also in the PK number. PK2 became a limited run by 1989, and Revell were actually starting to get to grips with Matchbox at this time. I don't think they actually had the marketing rights until the early 1990s, but they were certainly, they had an influence in what was going on at the time. Two colour kit, this kit is still a two colour kit, but it's green and grey inside the box. It's virtually exactly the same, but it shows a Mark 16 Spitfire on the box artwork. And the reason for that is because the PK number was changed on this kit from PK2 to PK50, and it included alternative parts to produce a Mark 16 bubble top, and also the fuselage had a raised section at the back. Sorry, it was cut down at the back, that's better. It was cut down at the back, and you had a separate part to put in the top of the spine behind the bubble top canopy. Or you could still build the Mark 9, which had a slightly raised tail and a different cockpit similar to the original one that was laid in PK2. So this is PK50. It was released in 1989, still a two colour kit, a Type 5 box, and the plane covered in the box was a Spitfire Mark 16 or a Mark 9. Then in 1992, Revell started to market Matchbox kits for proper, and they changed the format not only of the boxing but also of the kit that you got inside the box. Gone with the two colour and three colour kits, and all the parts now were either grey or they were one particular colour of which the kit was built in before. Some kits were blue, some kits were black, some kits were green. I did an inbox review on a Heinkel HE115 a couple of videos back, and the box was a Revell marketing release issue of the HE115, and all the plastic inside the box was green. It wasn't a three colour kit whatsoever. So in 1992, Revell got their hands on it. They moved the Matchbox logo back into the top left hand corner. They brought the Spitfire Mark 16/9 into the top right hand corner, and they reissued a new PK number. But it wasn't a PK number, it was a Revell serial number of 400/50 in 1/72 scale. And this kit is now PK, it would have been PK50, but it's not, it's actually 400 Mark 50. And 50 was the last two digits for the PK number, and that's how you know it was a straightforward handover. So 1992, that was, I think, the last rendition of this kit that was released by Revell Matchbox. Got a nice image here of a Mark 9 with the spine, the raised tail fin. You can build this particular model from the Matchbox kit. You can build a model of this particular mark of Spitfire from this kit, which is quite nice. What I want to do quickly now is just bring the camera down to the bench so you can see. There we go, you can see what's on the bench. Quite easy really, there we go. This is a Type 1 Matchbox purple range boxing, released in 1972, as we've said before. I've actually got one of the Type 1 boxings, which is really nice. On the sides of the box, this was always quite interesting as well. You've got PK2 written on the side of the box, Spitfire Mark 9, and on the right hand side you've got the Matchbox logo and then 1/72 scale, and then you've got a little purple disc which was intended to allow the retailer to put his price on the box. And most people just put the stickers for the price on the front of the box rather, but some people did put their price label there, which was quite nice. On this side of the box you've got an image of what the kit looks like made up straight out the box without painting, and this kit is green and brown inside. That's the two different colours. And on this side you've got kits featured in the PK purple range, and that's PK1, the Hawker Fury, PK3 is the Boeing P-12E, PK4 was the A6M0, and PK6 was the Focke-Wulf FW190. PK5, of course, was the Alpha Jet, and we'll get to that very soon because I'll be doing an inbox review on that one as well, probably over the next few weeks. So that's quite nice as well. You've got some images of some of the other kits in the range and the lower PK numbers, which is nice. So flip the lid. Lid comes off in one go. That's how you always know it's a Type 1 box. And what I'll do quickly is just take the plastic out of here, and we'll go through the plastic in a minute. Let's have a look at the instruction leaflet. This is another thing that you got on Type 1 boxes. On the side of the inside of the box you had some pictorial images of what the parts should look like when they're painted up, with the colour numbers, which is quite nice, and that's repeated on the other side of the box as well, which is nice. And you've got an illustration showing you how to put the multi-position stand together and how to utilise the stand on the kit. You can multi-position the aircraft on the stand, which is nice, and you've got some different languages there for information on the aircraft. Now then, instruction leaflet. All purple range kits had purple instructions in the first 2 or 3. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. Let's try and bring this camera back a little bit more, tip it down, and try and angle this up a little bit so that I can get some of that shadow out of the video for you. There we go. That's a little bit better, isn't it? There we go. That's a bit better. So we've got a purple instruction leaflet. All purple range kits had a purple instruction leaflet in the first 2 years. It's around about I would say A5 size. It folds out into, and on the back you've got some paint plans, instructions, and some idea of what the other kits are in the range. There's PK1 to PK10 listed on the bottom of the instruction leaflet, so you can see, you know, it's like a checklist. Oh yeah, I can build those, that's great. And on the inside of the leaflet you've got some hints in pictorial fashion, which is quite nice, hot hints, giving you an idea of how to sort of skills, teaching how to use different tools and how to do stuff. It's quite nice. And then you've got a little guide there for the keys as to what to do. Glue this item, don't glue this item, cut away bits and pieces, decals, things like that. It's just, you know, let's teach mummy how to suck eggs, shall we? And on the bottom of the back page you had a complaint slip built into the instruction leaflet, and if you had any parts damaged or missing you could just write off to Matchbox and they would send you them out, which is great. They won't send you them out anymore because Matchbox is no more. The instruction leaflet itself is broken up into 6 sections. I'll just quickly go through these, they're quite easy. Section 1 is the pilot and seat, which is the entirety of the interior detail. Section 2 is the propeller assembly and the fuselage halves, and then you put the pilot seat into one half, glue the whole lot together and make sure that you don't get glue on the propeller. So that will rotate nicely as well. Section 3 is the tailplane. Very simple. Section 4 is to assemble the wings, and then section 5 is to marry the wings and puts the exhaust stubs and cockpit canopy and that radio antenna there goes behind the cockpit. Now the exhaust stubs and the cockpit canopy I don't tend to fit until I've painted the aircraft's camo pattern. For obvious reasons, it's easier to paint those things before you put them on the plane. Section 6 is just an undercarriage and radiator assembly, and there's an oil cooler that goes in between the main undercarriage wheels there, and you put the cannons in place, tail wheel. It's all pretty easy. There's even a guide there that tells you the correct angle to put the undercarriage in the lowered position. And then there's a little guide there to show you how to sand down the tail fin if you wanted to opt for the alternative version that you can produce from this kit. It actually has the high fin or the lower fin available in this kit, and you just sand the tail fin down to produce the correct shape that you're after. So that's the instruction leaflet, quite easy. The decals, went right home about the decals. There's not much to look at really. I won't take the dust sheet off, but you can see the decals through there. They're quite bright, aren't they? But they're quite nicely registered and clearly defined. And the thing I always found about Matchbox decals is that even when they're 40 years old, which these are, they'll still go on like a dream, and they'll still have reasonably transparent backing film. Matchbox did a pretty good set of decals on their sheet. They were quite good. So the decals, yeah, they're okay. This thing here is a multi-position stand, and anyone who's got a Matchbox Purple range or any of the other ranges, they'll probably find that you've got a stand inside the kit. The thing about these is that they are multiple position, and you've got this part here that fits onto this ball at the top, and then you can angle the aircraft fitted into this onto this tab and have the aircraft flying at different angles or banking or flying straight and level if you wanted the wheels up. The thing about these things is they're very marketable, and if you don't want to use them, you can sell them on sales media sites quite easily. You've got Matchbox written there on that stand, and on the other side you've got Lindsay Prod and Company Limited, which is quite nice. And they're quite marketable. They'll probably, I've sometimes sold them for between £1.50 and £2.20, and it's not unusual to get £2.20 for them. They're quite marketable. Now then, the brown. Sorry, I don't want to go on to brown sprue first. I want to have a quick look at this. This is the transparency that you get in the Matchbox Spitfire, and yeah, it is clear. It is pretty clear. I must admit, it is pretty clear, but it's also pretty thick, and the image you get through that curvature of the glass there is actually quite distorted. So you will see detail inside. It would be worth painting the pilot up, painting the interior so it's at least the right colour, but I wouldn't expect to see things like instrumentation or side panel details and stuff like that, but that frame will paint up quite reasonably. Right, the brown sprue. The brown sprue features basically the wings and tailplane and the radiators, and there's a couple of other bits and pieces on here. And the pilot seat, there's the pilot seat, you can see that. The parts on this kit are an interesting mixture of raised and recessed panel lines. Most of the panel lines are raised, but most of the airframe features are recessed, which is weird to say the least. They're quite nicely rendered, mine. They're not overdone. I don't think you'll need to mess about with a piece of sandpaper or maybe a buffing block to get any of those down. I don't think they're going to need too much attention. They don't seem to be overdone at all. And also the finish for the elevators there on that tailplane, they're not too bad either. I mean, they're not fantastic. They're not nothing like modern parts on kits that you get nowadays, but they're okay. They're not that bad. The green sprue features the pilot, Matchbox pilots. Some of my subbers love these guys. I'm not a fantastic fan, but I don't hate them. I wouldn't say I hate them, but I would prefer a better shaped pilot. But these guys do paint up quite nicely, and they are quite well detailed, aren't they? The propeller's quite nicely cast. One of the things about Matchbox kits is that you won't find an awful lot of flash, especially if you buy an early rendition kit like this. And the fuselage halves are, well, I'll show you this one. They're a mixed bag as well of raised and recessed detail, and the fabric covered rudder is a bit, yeah, that's not brilliant, is it? It's not bad, but it's not brilliant. It's not what I would say is the best. And the forward cowlings there for the engine, they haven't got an awful lot of detail in the way of rivets, but there are a few bits and bobs hanging around there. Yeah, they'll probably spray up all right, but I wouldn't say that this kit is festooned with detail. But that's not really why we buy Matchbox kits. You don't buy them for the detail, you buy them for the ease of fit. The fact that some of their kits are very unusual and exclusive to Matchbox, and the fact that the nostalgia around them when you build them as a person my age and generation, when you were building them as children, that nostalgia comes through in the build, and they're very enjoyable and fun to build, fun to put together. So that's the parts. The one thing I do want to mention about the Matchbox Spitfire is that when it was released in 1972, and you might not believe this, but it's absolutely true, it was the best Mark IX Spitfire on the market anywhere in the world. And the reason for that is because its outline shape was actually pretty damn good. The wing plan form was spot on. The dihedral on the aircraft, when you put it together, was spot on. The dimensions of the fuselage and the actual shape of the canopy was spot on. The propeller spinner was spot on. The tail fin, everything was absolutely fantastic compared with the opposition. I wouldn't say that it's anything like the best Mark 9 Spitfire available today, as I'll talk about that in the conclusions and the summing up. But when it was released in 1972, its competition was the Airfix Series 1, that god-awful Johnny Johnson Spitfire Mark 9, which if anyone has built that kit, they'll realise just how terrible it is. And the Frog Spitfire Mark 8 Stroke 9, and that kit is pretty dire as well, I'll be honest with you. It's actually been reboxed by quite a few people, and so has the Airfix Spitfire Mark 9 as well. That's been reboxed by quite a few people, but this kit, when it appeared on the market, was actually the best Spitfire Mark 9 on the market by a long chalk. And it wasn't until, I would say, the late 70s, until companies like Artillery and Hasegawa started to, especially the Hasegawa kit. The Hasegawa kit is absolutely fantastic. That this kit started to be left in the wings and forgotten about, so to speak. But at the time it was state of the art and it was fantastic. Right, what I want to do quickly now is leave you the image of the boxing on in front of you, and I'll just go through the Gumpf, and there are quite a few options and costs, but I have limited the options and costs just to the Mark 9s and the 72nd scale kits available in them. The kit we're looking at in box reviewing today is the Matchbox Supermarine Spitfire Mark 9. Its serial number is PK2 and it was moulded in 1/72nd scale with a release date of 1972. There are decals in this kit for two versions. The first is of 124th Squadron Royal Air Force, and the second is 306th Turon Polish Squadron Royal Air Force. The kit dimensions are approximately 5 inches long by a span of about 6 inches, and it should sit about 1.5 inches high on its undercarriage. Now, there are 12 parts on one brown plastic sprue, 15 parts on a green plastic sprue, and one clear plastic part, totaling 28 parts in all. The options and costs are quite extensive, and quite a lot of these kits are standalone, which is interesting. AMT, they do a Mark 9 Spitfire, which is obviously the Matchbox kit, and that model retails about £8 to £10. AZ Models do a Spitfire Mark 9, a Spitfire Mark 9C, a Spitfire Mark 9E, an LF Mark 9E, a Mark 9 UTI, which is a 2-seat version, and a Mark 9 Floatfire. They also build a T Mark 9 tandem 2-seat trainer, which was a Spitfire that had 2 separate canopies. Now this kit has been absolutely praised to the gunnels by all of the pro builders, and it retails for about, in various boxings, because each box is actually one of these individual marks, and they retail for between £9 and £17 depending on the rarity of the model and how good condition it is. The Airfix Spitfire Mark 9, that was a Series 1 blister pack kit, was originally released on a Type 2 bag, retails for anything between £3 and £16, and that is diabolical. The Airfix Spitfire Mark 9 also featured with a Messerschmitt Bf 110D in a dogfight double kit, and that kit retails for about £5 to £21. The original kit can be purchased between 3 and 16 quid, and the Airfix model also featured in a historic collection which included a Spitfire Mark 9, a P51D Mustang and a Messerschmitt ME262A, and I believe these 3 kits were all the Series 1 original releases, and those kits retail for between £14.50 and £25. Airfix also retooled a Mark 9C, and it released quite recently by Hornby Productions, and this kit retails for about £4 to £13. Now the pro builders like this kit, not because of its accuracy, because it has some issues here and there, but they like it because it looks fantastic. It's a brilliant fit, it's quite easy and fun to build, and it is perfect for new modelers, novice modelers, and also professional builders alike, because it does lend itself very well to aftermarket parts. Bilek do a Spitfire Mark 9, a Mark 9C and a Mark 9E, and those kits retail for about £6 and they're average sort of quality. Brengun build a Spitfire Mark 9, a Mark 9B, which I think is a two-seat variant, a Mark 9C and a Mark 9E. These kits retail for about £8 and they're highly praised by the pro builders. Czech Master Resin do a resin kit of the Spitfire Mark 9C, another boxing of the F Mark 9, another boxing of the F Mark 9E and the LF Mark 9E, and a T Mark 9 trainer. These kits are average builds and they retail for between £18 and £32. Edouard do a really quite good offering of an F Mark 9 and Mark 9C and F Mark 9C and a Mark 9E, and these kits retail for between £13 and £25. Now the next two kits I've got no detail of pricing for, but Esoteric produced a Mark 8 and 9, which I believe could be the old Frog kit, and F-Toys produce a Mark 9, and that's a standalone model as well. Now the Frog kit is the Mark 8 and 9 convertible model. You can build either or marks out of one box, and that kit is pretty dire. Retails for about £5.50 to £9. Forces of Valour produce a Mark 9, and this kit is very highly praised. It is one of the best on the market. Retails between £7 and £29. There's also a Hasegawa Spitfire Mark 9 and a Mark 9C. Now, this kit is believed to be one of the best Spitfire Mark 9 in 72nd scale offered on the market today, but it can be quite pricey. You can often pick it up for as little as, say, £10, but I have seen prices of £35 on this kit. So if you're after a really, really good Mark 9 in 72nd scale, the Hasegawa kit is probably the one of choice. Intech do a Spitfire Mark 8 and 9, retails about £15 to £25. Intech Mod do a Spitfire F Mark 9E and an LF Mark 9E, no pricings on that kit. Iteleri do a Spitfire Mark 9, which retails between £1 and up to about £10. The pro builders like this kit too. They say it's actually a nice, easy, fun build and it's quite accurate. Jay's Models do a Spitfire Mark 8 and 9, a standalone kit. This is not the Frog kit. No pricings on this available though. And Kovazavodi Prostojov or KP Models, they produce a Spitfire Mark 9C, an LF Mark 9C, a Mark 9E and an LF Mark 9E. These kits are about average build and they go for about £1 to £16 depending on how good the kit is. Copro do a Spitfire F Mark 9C, that's available for between £5 and £10. The Matchbox Purple Range Spitfire Mark 9 and PK50, the Mark 9 and 16, retails for as little as £2 up to about £17.50. Platts do a Spitfire Mark 9 and 16, which goes, I haven't got any pricing on that, but it's probably about £15. Sword do a really excellent kit, and again this is one of the premier kits available in 72nd scale. It's of a Spitfire LF Mark 9E and it retails for about £18. And Ventura Publications, I think that's a VAC form kit, they do a Mark 9 and a Mark 9C. No pricings on that kit however. Now the kits that have been reboxed, AMT obviously build the Matchbox model, which I featured before, but Airfix by Craftmaster also build the Series 1 Spitfire Mark 9. No pricings on that. Copro Air Molds do a Spitfire Mark 9, one with a beer barrel variant, one of a Mark 9 float plane, and one of an LF Mark 9E, and that's the Copro kit. No pricings on that one. Copro Mastercraft do a Spitfire Mark 9C, a Mark 9 and an LF Mark 9E. This is the Copro kits again, no pricings on those. Lotnia do a Spitfire Mark 9 and a Mark 9 UTR2 seat version. These are based on the Matchbox kit and these retail for between £15 and £16. The UTI2 seat version has additional sprue with extra parts to produce the two-seat version. I think there's a little bit of cutting about and messing around with that kit. NBC Models do an LF Mark 9, that's a KP model kit, no pricings on that. MPC did a Spitfire Mark 9 based on the Airfix Series 1 kit, no pricing on that. Mia's Models did a Spitfire Mark 8 and 9, which is also the Frog kit rebox, no pricings on that. Mr. Craft did a Spitfire Mark 9C, which is actually the KP Models kit, around about £8 for release. Remus Play Kits did a Spitfire Mark 8 and 9, which is a reboxed frog kit. No pricings on that, but they usually go for quite a bit. Walterson's did a Spitfire Mark 9, which is actually the Forces of Valour kit. I haven't seen one of those on sale in England anywhere, but they'll probably go for a similar price to the Forces of Valour model. And ZTS Plastic did a Spitfire NF Mark 9E, which is the KP Models kit. No pricings on those. Now then, conclusions. The Matchbox Spitfire Mark 9 PK2 is the second kit released by Matchbox in their purple range. Although not great by modern standards, when released in 1972 it was the best Mark 9 Spitfire on the market, with only Frog and Airfixer Spitfires as competition. It was in another league. The kit has its problems, as you can imagine, with a mixture of raised and recessed panel lines and no detail in the wheel wells or interior whatsoever. But its good shape and really good fit makes this kit still a fun build though, not as good as more modern contemporaries. Good options available on the market now for me would be the Forces of Valour, the Edward and Hasegawa Spitfires, but please avoid the Frog and first generation Airfix Spitfires as they really are truly diabolical. So that's the inbox review finished for the 72nd scale Spitfire from Matchbox. I hope this video has been of some use, and I will get back to you with any questions, queries. Just pop them in the comments boxes, and I hope all your modelling projects are going smooth, and please remember to have as much fun as you possibly can. I'll see you for the next video, guys. Bye bye.